on then. So I'm Matt, and yeah, I've just finished year 3 at Manchester here. So I'm just going to talk to you about how I got in, because it's not the most straightforward journey. I didn't come straight from school and college and then into university. So I'll just talk to you about a bit about my background and then what I did to be eventually successful in applying for medicine. So at GCSEs, I got 7. They only let me sit 7 because I was not the most well behaved in the school. I was academically okay, but I wasn't the most well behaved person. So they only put me on the middle track where you could sit 7 GCSEs. I couldn't do the 11 or 12 that they let you do if you're in the top 6. So after that, when I left school, I was unsure of what I wanted to do, and then I thought, well, my dad knew this person who ran an electrical engineering business, and they travel like from where I'm based all up and down the country. So I went up to Scotland with them, down as far as London, and stayed away in Wales, and they used to pay for you to stay away. So we go and set up like new shops, and we put in like all the security systems, the CCTV, the alarms, the fire alarms and things like that, and that's what I did because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I thought I might as well do an apprenticeship because that's it's paying me, and I'm also not fully out of education, so I've got a BTEC from that. But halfway through that, I was like, not really for me, it's quite boring, I'm away a lot, I'm not really paid very well. And then I was looking at the people who were working with me, and that was their career, and that was what I would be in 5 or 10 years time. And I thought, is this the life that I want to be doing in 5 or 10 years time? It's not really that interesting to me. And eventually, partway through that, I thought, no, this is not for me. So I had to think about what I wanted to do and what was interesting to me at school. So obviously, like for you guys, it's all your sciences and things like that. So I went back to do A-levels. So I did biology, chemistry, and psychology, and then English language at the AS level. And I got AAB, so they wouldn't let me in with AAB, unfortunately. So I had to do a different degree then. So I went in as my backup choice. I'd put on my 5th UCAS choice, I'd put medical physiology at Leicester, and I predominantly put that because they said, oh, if you get on average first class results in your first year, we'll let you apply to transfer into medicine. So that's a different way you can get in. So I thought that's the second best option for me, is to do something similar, do a science subject, and then hopefully transfer into medicine. So I did that for a year, got a really good grade in first year, got well into the eligibility thing that I could transfer if I wanted to. But I didn't like living in Leicester, didn't like the university, I didn't really like Leicester as a place, unfortunately. So I decided to not stay at Leicester and transfer into medicine, and to not carry on with my degree at Leicester. I emailed all sorts of other universities asking if I could transfer into year 2, because the first degree is 3 years. So I'd asked if I could transfer into year 2 and 3 of a different degree somewhere else, somewhere that I prefer. So Leeds said, yeah, you can come here as long as you get a 2-1 in year 1. So I'd well exceeded that. So I went to finish my degree at Leeds. So I've only graduated from Leeds, but I've been and studied at Leicester and Leeds. So after I'd been to Leeds, that's when I started doing, well, I'd been doing work experience anyway before that, but I then made a successful application. I got interviews this time, which I didn't have before. And then eventually I came to Manchester after Leeds. So I've talked a bit about this. So why did I want to do medicine? I was really bored in my job, and it wasn't really something that I thought I could see myself doing long term. It wasn't really an important job to me. It was all right. It was interesting. It was good to travel when I was young, but it's not what I wanted to do. Like full time when I in a couple of years' time. Once I finished my apprenticeship, I didn't want to be doing that. So I thought about what I enjoyed, and obviously a few guys at science and things like that, and I enjoyed working with other people. I wanted to help people. It's very, very cliche, but that's why most people come into medicine. So to get here, I found it quite difficult, to be honest, because my college wasn't a college where a lot of people went on to do things like medicine, dentistry, law. They weren't really that well equipped to support students in making applications for those kind of courses. It was the sort of time where I'm from, a lot of people do apprenticeships and vocational courses and things like that, so more geared towards that. So I found it quite difficult to find the information at the start. So I had to Google a lot, I had to order a lot of prospectuses, but I think everything's online for you guys now, and they've all been compiled into like nice documents from the GMC and from the Medical Schools Council. So I'm sure you've heard about that this week. So I'll definitely go and check them documents out, because for me, they didn't exist, and I had to sort of pull all that information from each individual medical school website. So it was quite, a time-consuming process, but for you guys, it's much better now. And obviously, alongside that, I was doing work experience and thinking about sitting entrance exams. And the work experience that I did, I've just listed all here, things that you can do. So I did, I think I did 2 weeks in general practice, and that was all right. We got to see a lot of variety there. Spent time, reception in clinics and with nurses and things like that to understand the wider healthcare team. I also did about 1.5 years at a hospice, which was really good as well. And it's good that if you can get some long-term things there, just a couple of hours every Friday evening, I think, helping with like meal times and having some patient contact there and seeing how the medical team work together, how the nursing team work together, and seeing how patients' families really matter as well as part of the treatment process, or the process for that patient as well. So nursing homes, I didn't really do anything in nursing homes or pharmacies, but obviously that's really good work experience if you can get it. And then I've just put down at the bottom things like volunteering with youth groups and summer schools, if obviously us guys are doing that now, and if you guys are on it. Other work experience is really valuable too. I can't remember somebody in my group earlier in the CSLC was talking about his role as a team leader or a manager at a workplace that's not medical, but the experience that you get from being in that kind of position or just having a part-time job or something else that you do outside of school and college gives you so much experience that's transferable then into your personal statement. It's really relevant for medicine. Oh, and I put these work experience placements that hospitals offer. I think most hospitals offer something like this now. When I was applying, it took me a year to get. I was on a waiting list for work experience placement at my local hospital for a year, and I only got it in maybe a week before my personal statement was due. So I really didn't, have the time to put that into my personal statement, which was I really enjoyed the experience. But if you look at your local hospital websites now, a lot of them are running these schemes. And I think they're much better, or there's more places now than there was when I applied. So hopefully you'll get a place on them before you're due to write your personal statement and submit it. So personal statement, I won't go over this too much because I know we've had a session on it today. And I essentially followed the same structure as Enam told us to do earlier. So I've just listed here, this is an extract from my personal statement. So I've just a very short bit about what you did. So I worked at Tesco part-time whilst I did A-levels. So as part of that, I worked as a customer assistant at a supermarket. That's all I need to say about that. And then what skills that I demonstrated. So I've been responsible for changing the prices and working to deadlines, and this is important because it's a legal requirement for the store. So, and then I've talked about accountability and integrity, and then these are qualities, foundation principles of the General Medical Council, which is obviously important to show your awareness of the key attributes that you should be demonstrating at this stage. And then just link it back to medicine. So obviously these skills would then benefit me in maybe working in a busy emergency ward or something like that. And then the entrance exams as well. I'm sure you're really aware of these. I've put UKCAT. It's now just changed its name to UCAT, but it's the same exam. So you sit these over summer before you go into before you submit your application in October. So for you guys, this will be this summer. Obviously, you can only sit them once per application cycle, so you really need to make sure that you're ready for them. And there's bursaries as well that I didn't really know about until after I'd submitted them. After I'd done mine and paid for them, there are bursaries. So if you look on the website, there are bursaries, and it tells you all the assessment criteria, and it covers the full cost, because sometimes if you sit the exams near towards the deadline at the end of testing, the price goes up by about a third or a half because it's busier, and I don't know, they just want to make more money really. But if you submit it even at the busier, more expensive time and you're eligible for the bursary, it'll still cover the full cost of that, so it's definitely worth checking whether you're eligible for that or not. It's the same for the UKCAT and the BMAT. So obviously you then submit mid-October, and then you're waiting for your interviews maybe end of November, December, to March, April, and then you'll be made an offer, hopefully before then, or you might be put on a reserve list, you might get a late offer, and then eventually you come to medical school. So at medical school, obviously there's loads of independence. You probably will move away from home. Not everybody will be able to get into medical school that's nearest to the home, and you might not want to commute anyway. I wouldn't really advise commuting anyway unless you have to. It's nice to come away and get that experience of coming to university. So you do get your independence and loads of new friends. Medical school really good, certainly at Manchester, because you rotate your PBL groups each semester, so you with a new group of students each time, and you might also meet other students from sports groups, people that you live with at Hull, so you get a lot of different groups of friends, so that's really nice. Obviously there's lots of societies that you can join. Manchester Outreach Medics, really good one, definitely recommend that. Sports, sometimes the medic sports are different from university sports, so you can play with the university teams, but if they don't quite work with your timetables, the medics teams have set their training times and the practices that are definitely going to work with the medical school timetable. So ours are quite later on in the evening, so everyone can go and make sure they go, even in people who are in clinical years can still go to them. You obviously study subjects in depth, and that's why you're here. But there's still time, lots of time to have a part-time job. I had a part-time job, still stayed at Tesco for the first 2 years of being at Manchester. And then I volunteered as well on a research project, and then was also involved in Manchester Outreach Medics at that time as well. So it's quite a privileged position as a medical student in the opportunities that you get in terms of being involved in research projects. Because as a science student, I'd always want to be, involved in some kind of research, because you read about it all the time and you'd want to actually see how it's done and things like that. And I'm not sure as to the reasons why, but as medical students, it's much easier to access and to be part of medical research than it is as a science student. So I found out about so they wanted some volunteers, and I found out through a Facebook page from the Manchester MedSoc page for a project at the Christie Hospital, which is down in Withington. So I was for my first year, for about 5 months, I'd just go in the evenings once or twice a week, and they were creating this database about melanoma, which is a type of skin cancer. And that project's still ongoing, but I've had sort of input to that in the early stages, and then so I'm sort of following that through, not involved in it as much now, but then once all those research papers are published, then my name will be part of that, and I've been part of that research process, and that's sort of what you might be involved in at later stages of life as a doctor and things like that. So it's good to get that opportunity. If you get that at medical school, I definitely recommend doing something like that. So I just want to put that I've still maintained my part-time job, because I wanted to just show that you have got time to do things outside of medicine as well. And if you need to have a part-time job to fund accommodation or whatever, it is definitely possible. And then another thing that I did in second year is not just specific to the medical school, but it was me and another medical student who sort of managed a team at Manchester University of fundraisers from across the university, not just the medical school, and we led them on a bike ride from Budapest to Zagreb last summer in aid of breast cancer now, and they raised over £26,000, something like that. So we managed that alongside second year of medicine, which was a fairly busy year. So there's definitely opportunities, and you've got the time to do extra things other than studying. So the actual day-to-day stuff varies between each year. So I've just stolen this from Manchester's website. So you might have already seen it already. So usually you'll have PBL on a Monday, which you know because you've done it this week. And then you'll have time to study. You might then have dissection, which is related to that. If this week you were learning about cystic fibrosis, you might have gone and looked at the lungs and maybe the pancreas or something in dissection that week. So they do theme it to the case that you've been given that week. Tuesday might be on half a day early clinical experience, so that might be at the hospital next door or a GP somewhere, so you go and have a session with the GP and sort of sit in and observe and see a patient or something. Afternoon and Wednesday morning, you might have your lectures then that are relevant to your case, and I know you've had some of them this week, so that's, again, things like that. Every Wednesday afternoon, everyone university-wide gets that off for sports or, I don't know, whatever you want to do on a Wednesday afternoon. It's usually sports activities, but it's really up to you, whatever you do. So you could go and do your self-directed study, get your PBL out of the way on Wednesday afternoon if you want to. Thursday we have like practical classes, so we go and learn how to give injections, how to take ECGs, how to sort of measure lung function using spirometry, so things that we might be doing in later practice in years 3, 4 and 5 onwards, and beyond that. And then consultation skills, we'll have that probably once a week, and I think you guys have had it. It's the kind of communication skills and how to deal with different clinical scenarios, so actors come in and sort of help us to develop them skills as well. And then Friday, as you know, is the PBL, the end of PBL, so you come in and do your case close and things like that. And then you might have some time to do PPD, which is like a bit of coursework that goes along and gets assessed, like your portfolio work. So I've talked a bit about these practical classes. Dissection, obviously that's it depends how your medical school does that. Obviously here it's full body dissection, but other schools have like specimens that have already been dissected, and so you just go and look at that. It's already been done for you. You don't really have to look at it and take it out of the body and see how it fits in. It's just sort of the key bits of anatomy have already been done for you, and you just go around and look at it and sort of have a feel of it, and then go and discuss that in a different way. But it's up to you how you want to do it. I don't know. I don't know which is the best way. It's just up to you what you prefer. But there's some form of dissection involved in all courses, I would say. And then I've talked about the rest on here. So communication skills, early clinical experiences when you go to a GP or hospital for half a day during year 1 and 2. So this is in year 3 to 5. I would say there's no typical week, to be honest. I would say this is a fairly typical week for year 3. This is my timetable early this year. So I might go to a clinic, all the green things are things that you definitely have to go to. They've been set by the university, you have to go to them. And the red things are things that you sign up to as a student, because you need to go to a certain number of clinics, a certain number of ward rounds, a certain number of theatre lists per week, depending on what block you're on. So on Monday afternoon, I would have gone to a chest clinic in this week, so I would have then probably seen a patient, and we had to take histories and examine patients as well. We had to do so many of them per week. So like we taught you earlier today with the respiratory examination, you'd be doing that, and it'd be the doctor would watch you and say, oh, you've done this bit really well, but maybe you need to work on, see how the chest moves next time. So they put you some feedback in, and then that'll be your examination done for the week. The next bit, we have something like clinical debriefing, where you go and like discuss cases that you've seen during the week, and sort of, I don't know, it really works with how your group wants to work those sessions. So they're a bit variable, but that's like a group discussion session. And then we have portfolio meetings, so that's your personal reflective sort of diary. You have meetings about that every now and again to make sure that you've done a certain number of reflections for that block, so that you're not falling behind. And then we have bedside teaching, so that's in green as well, because everyone needs to go to that, because they're important for that particular block. And then things like ward rounds, so we go with the doctors in the morning and walk around and review all the management plans and see if the patients are getting better. Do we need to do any more tests? Have the test results come back? Do we need to change anything? And see if we can get them patients out of hospital and back home. And then there's other things that you can sign up for, things like radiology. This wasn't a set requirement, but it's things if you're interested in going to see how radiologists work. So you won't really go and see how a CT scanner works, how the MRI people work, how PET scans work, unless you sign up to extra things like this. And it's not a requirement, but you can get a lot of extra things done for this. So if you need to put a cannula in or take some bloods, certainly people having CTs done need to have that done before they go into the scanner. So they're really good sessions to sort of get your competencies ticked off. And then Thursday, day off, so not too bad. But it wouldn't really be a day off, it would be sort of self-directed study, because alongside this is obviously PBL, or you sort of clinical case for that week, or you might have more than one case that you need to get through. So although it looks like a day off, and I might not come into hospital for it, I might go to the library instead, come out and stay at home and do the work for that week. And then Friday, again, it's similar to the PBL close. We have the sort of themed case discussions, it's called, but it's essentially the end of that week, the discussion of that case. And then I might go in like the cath lab, which is sort of theatre. So it's quite a varied week, and it does change week on week, but I just thought I'd try and pick one that's a sort of typical week. This again is year 3, but a busy week. And just bear in mind, obviously you have cases and things to do outside of this, so between 9 to 5 most days, sometimes longer if I've got this meeting till 6, so 8 till 6, that's quite a long day. But obviously finishing at 4 and starting at 9:30 other days, so it's variable each week, but it just depends which block you're on and how much stuff you've got to get done that week. So that's why time management is really important. It's what people are going to be looking for in your applications. So the difference between year 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 is that it's more like learning the basics in year 1 and 2 and the foundations that will help you then to go on to year 3 and 5, which is much more practical, obviously I mentioned the ward rounds, the clinics and the theatres, but we have to see so many patients a week. We have to go and take histories from them, find out why they come into hospital, sort of think about the management plans, and then discuss this with doctors, and they'll sign us off and say, yeah, you've done this well, and then for next time I would work on these things. And so to do that each week, at least a couple of times, and then obviously that's just helping us improve each week. And then the practical applications and the skills that you've learnt in your skills session in years 1 and 2, and you have them again in 3, and they'll teach you, how to take blood, how to put a catheter in, things like that. All skills that you're going to be doing as a junior doctor. So we'll have to do them during the medical schools 3, 4 and 5th year to make sure that we're competent and we know how to do it by the time we get to an F1 level. So the pros and cons, I would just say it's really challenging and interesting. That's what I like about it, because I was just very bored. I think I get very bored easily, and that's what I didn't like about my other job. I was very much over it within a couple of weeks of working there, to be honest. So this is obviously really challenging and lifelong learning, to be honest, because even after foundation years, you could be training for another 10, 11, 12 years, and obviously you need to keep your knowledge up to date with new drugs that come in and different procedures that change. So there's lots of variety each week, as you've seen with the timetable, and each week is different. And you do get unique opportunities like the research projects and things like that that other science students wouldn't really get, or wouldn't get it as easily, to be honest. And you get to work with lots of people and obviously have a positive impact on patients and ultimately on the families and things like that. So the negatives, I would say, it's a high volume of work and it gets worse each year in terms of the workload. But obviously you've had the experience of the previous years, managing your own time, finding out from the years above what they found works really well for them. And so you do manage it, you just have to think, everybody passes it, well, everybody gets through it. And you just got to take the advice from the years above and manage your time well. So it's time consuming, but you do have time to do other things. I know people have still got part-time jobs and they're doing a lot of other things other than medicine. And it's competitive, obviously you'll experience that when you apply. It's really competitive and good candidates won't get in first time. And that's the same as you carry on through foundation, post training and specialist training. Again, you have to go through those hurdles of, an unsuccessful application maybe, and then you might have to wait a year, get more experience, and then come back with a stronger application. And it's emotionally demanding at times as well, because patients don't always go home and get better. Patients are dying. Patients' families are very upset. That no more treatment can be given. So you need to be aware that it's not always making patients better. Sometimes it's just about making patients comfortable and helping them come to terms, and the families, with what is the end of their life really. So it's obviously quite a sad time. So I just put this in at the end. This is a very complicated diagram of our year sort of overview. So I'm here, this first smiley face, just finished year 3. But in reality, if I'd gone straight from school, I would have probably been the end of F2, or maybe applying for specialist training now. I'm not sure when it works, but I've probably been 3 years into being a doctor really. But it doesn't really matter. Like I didn't get him first time, but I'm still here, and I've got the experience of having a different degree, a full science degree. I've had, the opportunity to have summers off. I've travelled. I've done other things, and I've got, a lot of experience that people have said to me, "Oh, have you come straight into medicine?" And I said no, and they were like, "Oh well, I can tell you can tell the difference between a student who's had, a year out than come in. Not to say that if you go straight from A levels, you're not going to be as good a student, not at all. But you definitely, if you don't get in first time and you want to do it, then there's other ways in, and taking that year out will give you extra skills as well. So don't be disheartened if you don't get in first time.